Welcome back to another episode of the Purpose Babe Show. I'm your host, Corie Clark. I am so excited to talk to you guys today, and it's about something that is really important to me, and I'm extremely passionate about it. And there's been an increasing desire, if you will, of people in my audience asking me these kinds of questions about my journey to health freedom. And so I thought this would be a great opportunity to just share my whole story, my story that is still evolving and growing and changing as it should be and always will be until the day I die. But I'm really excited because there seems to be a lot more people interested in health freedom and questioning the narrative and doing what's best for their bodies, for their families, and all of that good stuff. So I'm just going to be diving into my journey to health freedom, and I am coming to you not as a doctor. Let me just put that disclaimer out there. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I am not in the medical field. I am simply sharing with you what my journey has been as a woman, as a wife, as a mom, and just trying to do what's best for me and my family. And so I'm sharing this not as necessarily advice for you, but for you to possibly open your eyes a little bit to something that you haven't before, or to do some research. If I bring up something that you want to do more research on, do research. I've spent years researching different things, and that I may not have ever if I didn't start this journey. So my journey goes back to when my kids were a lot younger. And it was probably in about, I would guess, around 2007. I wish I was better at that time at actually journaling and, writing out what I had done. So a lot of this is just purely based off of my memory, but I do have vivid memories of points in my life where I made conscious decisions to make changes. And they started out small, and I want to encourage you today that no matter where you are on your health journey, whether you have never bought an organic food item in your life, or if you're on medication or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. This is not coming from a place of judgment, and you shouldn't judge yourself either. And take what you know now and start applying it and make little changes, because those little changes compound over time. And so I'm going back, like I said, we're talking probably 15 years since I really started making little changes. And I didn't change everything at once, and I'm still not perfect. We don't eat 100% organic. It's not like we have 100% toxic free life, but we've made small changes. And when we learn something that we know needs to change, we make that change. And so back when my kids were a lot younger, and like I said, I'm kind of guessing, I think it was around 2006, 2007. The very first thing that, it was so random, I don't even know why I read it, but I read a book called Skinny Bitch. I don't even know if my husband needs to bleep that out when he edits this. I don't know, because I don't ever swear, but that's the title of the book. And I didn't necessarily follow every single thing in that book, but that book opened my eyes because they shared a lot about the USDA and our meat industry and aspartame, those kinds of things, chemicals in our sodas. And at that time I was drinking Diet Pepsi all day, every day. So I stopped drinking Diet Pepsi for a little bit. I'm talking like a few days. I was like, I'm not going to eat meat. Like, this is disgusting. Once I started learning. And so I bring that up as a point to like that book, although it didn't completely change everything I did, it opened my eyes and I started researching, how our food was made, how our food was grown, what was in our food, and really started cutting out, sodas, especially diet soda, and buying more organic food and making small changes here and there and just being aware, and I challenge you to do some research. There was some pretty awful stories in that book from, people that worked in the meat industry, and it was a little bit creepy. So I'm just going to leave it at that because that's not what this episode's about. This is just about my journey. I also read a book called Gorgeously Green. Now, like I said, these are 15 years ago, so I'm not sure that I would necessarily recommend them. There's probably better books out there that are newer and have more information, but this was where I was. And I read the book Gorgeously Green, and it was really just about being more toxic free and green living, and being more conscious about that kind of stuff. And so I really started seeing all of the toxins that were just around us everywhere and poisoning us. And it was like this, aha moment of we are one of the sickest nations. We have the most pharmaceuticals available to us, the most of everything available to us always, but we're so sick. And, these toxins that are in our cleaning products and in our foods and in our homes are known to cause cancer, and so that was kind of my first, I don't want to get cancer. I don't want my kids to get cancer. So I'm going to start cutting as much of this out as possible. And then in 2007, we started homeschooling. And I believe it was 2007. It was when my oldest was going into second grade. When he was in first grade, we almost pulled him out because, again, I started doing research and finding a lot of information about, why the school system was created in the first place and, just the freedoms that you had as a homeschooling family. So we started homeschooling and we moved our family into a little town called Meadow Vista in California. And I was really struggling with, I really didn't know what it was. I just had no motivation to do anything. And I felt, tired all the time. I didn't want to clean. I was exhausted from just, being a mom, and my kids were little. And, so at that time, my youngest was 2. And so I had a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 7-year-old. And I was homeschooling, and we were living on property, and we had a lot going on. But I was just exhausted, and I found a doctor that was highly recommended, an OBGYN, and went in and talked to her and told her what was going on, and she immediately wanted to put me on the birth control pill. Now, at this time, we had already taken care of the whole we are not having any more children thing. So I didn't need birth control. And I didn't want to be on a drug that I didn't need for the reason it was created, and I remember going and filling the prescription, and then I just was like, I don't know. I just don't know about this. Why, if I'm feeling off and I'm feeling, depression and I'm feeling exhaustion, why do I need to take this drug? And I started talking to a friend at my daughter's dance class, and she told me she was going to a naturopath, and that, she went for the same reason, because most doctors will just prescribe a pill to help cover the symptoms, make the symptoms go away, without actually getting to the root of the problem. And so I went to this naturopath, and that was so pivotal in my health journey because my first appointment was probably 2 hours. And I mean, he just asked me so many questions, hundreds of questions, about what I ate and what our sleep was like and what my family life was like. And I mean, just every single bit of my life, just asking tons of questions, taking tons of notes. And we did some blood work, and actually, he had the blood work from the previous doctor. And, and he said, like, you really can't write a prescription based on this blood work. There's so much more to it. Your hormones are involved, and your gut, and, when something's out of balance, it starts to snowball. And so even going through something like childbirth, that's, even if I was fine, nothing went wrong, but I had 3 kids. And he said that was, even though you're fine, that was traumatic for your body. And that can, trigger something to be a little bit off. And then your mind isn't telling your body what to do to stay in balance. And that's how you slowly become more and more imbalanced. And it can actually snowball and become a lot worse. And so he gave me a bunch of different supplements, which I'm not going to even share those because that doesn't matter. It was based on my conversation with him, but they were all natural. He did put me on like a really high potent probiotic and several other supplements and, naturopathic, homeopathic, a few different things. And I kid you not, the next morning when I woke up, it wasn't like I was better 100%, but there was like this fog, this like heaviness that was lifted. Like I could think clearer. I was happier. It was crazy to me that immediately my body was getting back in sync. And so I stayed on that journey of naturally healing my body and doing the same thing for my kids instead of running to the doctor every time they coughed or sneezed. Researching what kinds of things can help get their body back in balance. And my son, my youngest, when he was a couple years old, he had a horrible reaction to an antibiotic. And from that point forward, I was very invested in doing a lot of research about antibiotics, about vaccines, about all of these things that I was just allowing to be given to or injected into my children. And, again, I challenge you to do your research, to not just take the pamphlet from the doctor, but to actually research like what is needed for the child and what is in that product. Because what I have found for my family, for my kids, is they don't need a whole heck of a lot of anything that God hasn't already given us on this earth. And so we have not, in the last 15 years, we have not had to go to the doctor for any illnesses. Other than an emergency, my daughter dislocating her finger, they've gotten strep throat and we've healed it naturally. They've gotten ear infections. We've healed them naturally. Now, I wouldn't just deny my kids health care if they needed it. If it was always like being very proactive, if they started to get sick, figuring out what was wrong, giving them what they needed to heal their body, and keeping a close eye on them. And if things ever got to a point where, their fever wasn't going away or their pain wasn't going away, I 100% would have taken them. So please hear me on this. I'm not saying don't ever go to the doctor. I'm saying we have not needed to. We haven't needed antibiotics. We haven't needed any kind of, anything other than like emergency visits. And so It's amazing how your body, when you allow it to do what it was made to do, how it actually can heal itself with sunshine and with food and water and supplements when you need them. And, that has been a major part of our journey, is learning how to break free from that system that we've been told we have to be part of. When you have a country that is so sick and so medicated, there's something wrong, because the medications aren't getting to the root of the problem. They're just covering up the symptoms. And then what ends up happening is that medication covers up a symptom, but then it causes something else. So then you need another medication for that symptom. And it just goes on and on and on and on. And please, if you are on medication, talk to your doctor about this. Find a naturopath. Find someone to talk to, because like I said, I cannot give you that advice. This is just what me and my family have done, and I have in the show notes, I have a few blog posts on the things that we use and when we use them and why we use them. I have a new post about the top 5 things I would suggest if you want to start, your journey to health freedom and living toxic free. These are the top 5 things I would change immediately, and they're easy to change. So I have those in the show notes for you. But anyways, back to my story. So then in 2011 was actually the first time we went to a chiropractor, and we had moved to Southern California, and I did something and my neck was just tweaked and it was hurting so bad. I had a friend, actually I've shared a lot of his stuff. My friend, his name's Matt Hubbard. He's a pastor, he's a chiropractor, and very wise. And I knew he was a chiropractor, and so I don't know, texted him or Facebook messaged him. I don't remember, but I was like, I need a chiropractor. And he was in San Diego, so it was a drive, but I was really scared to go to the chiropractor because I had never been. And, there's all these misconceptions around chiropractors, and I just never knew. So we went down to see him. He adjusted me, got x-rays, saw some issues with my back, and then referred us to someone in Orange County that we could go to for regular care. So once we learned about chiropractic care and about your spine being in alignment, and how if something is just the tiniest bit off, what it can affect, your brain, allergies, your gut, your hormones, it's just every single part of your body. Your spine is connected to or affects every part of your body. And so once we learned that, and that it actually was a tool to when you keep your spine aligned, that it actually keeps your body balanced and running the way it's supposed to, we got the whole family on chiropractic care. And we haven't stopped going since, and now in Franklin, we have the best chiropractor. I'll link to him for those of you that are in the area. He's amazing. His name's Dr. Mason. And I truly believe that chiropractic care, drinking clean, purified water, taking supplements, getting toxins out of our house, I truly believe that has helped my family to not be horribly sick, and it's not that we never get sick, but it's that when we do get sick, our body knows how to, kick it into gear and heal itself. And we know how to support our body in doing that. And there's just so much you can learn when you start to listen to your body and acknowledge what you're feeling and figure out what's going on, And so if there's anything that you could do today, it would be to drink purified whatever, water. If you can get a reverse osmosis, awesome. If you can't, if all you can get is a 0 water pitcher, something, get the crap out of your water. And there's websites you can go on where you can type in your zip code and find out what's in your water in your area, and Here in Franklin, it was horrible. The water is awful. I mean, I'm guessing most parts of the country it is. Fluoride, you don't need fluoride. It's really bad for you. There's just so many things that you don't need that we've been told all along we need, and we just don't. And so get yourself some clean water, get yourself some clean food, get those toxins out of your house. It's not as hard as it seems. And like I said, you don't have to go all in. I've never gone all in, because if you try to go all in and you try to buy 100% organic food and you throw everything in your fridge and pantry out and you get all organic, and it's going to cause so much stress and anxiety. Like, it's so much easier to just start making small changes, and in my opinion, moderation is going to help you, because you can't be in panic mode when you go out to eat and freaking out and wondering what the heck's in the food. If that's how it's going to be for you, then you probably shouldn't even go out. But that's why I've chosen like little bits here and there, small changes. When you know better, do better. When you know something's wrong, change it. And it's okay. You don't need to beat yourself up over what you've done in the past. That's another thing I've had to work through, is feeling like, man, I wish I wouldn't have done these things. I wish I wouldn't have allowed these things to be given to my kids. I can't go back, but I can change things moving forward. So wherever you are on your health journey, just know, if you've never bought an organic food in your life and you've never used filtered water, it's okay. But you can start now, and you can start small and simple. So I'm linking to some of my favorite things so that you can get started. I also have a brand new newsletter specifically for, in this day and age, it's really frustrating, because no matter what you believe, no matter what you choose to do with your body for your health decisions, it's really hard to find the truth when it's being censored and suppressed. And so, I've seen it personally in my own platforms. When I share these things, I mean, literally things that are true, things I've experienced, things friends have experienced, I'm being censored. I'm being shadow banned. My reach is lowering. And at the end of the day, I don't really care about that. What I care about is I will continue to do what God has called me to do. And for me, our health freedom to build our own wealth, our personal freedoms, our freedom of speech, those kinds of things are so important. And so this newsletter that I just started, that's what it's for, is I'm going to be sharing information that might get taken off of Instagram. It might get censored. It might get fact checked, whatever. I'm going to share what I believe is helping me and my family with our health, with our wealth, with our freedom. So my newsletter that I just started is called Abundant and Free, because I do believe that God created us all to live abundant lives and free lives. And so I don't know what this is all going to look like, but I already had, as soon as I asked on Instagram if people would be interested, I had so many people, it was overwhelming, so many people that wanted to be part of it. And I've also been sharing, if you've seen on Instagram, if I could recommend one thing, I mean, besides changing your water, I do think that's the most important. If I had to choose one supplement, like, it's the end of the world, we got to leave our house and head out to the hills or something. If I could only take one thing, it would be my fulvic acid. And I'm going to link to that as well. And if you sign up for my newsletter that I just started, it sends you an article. Like, as soon as you sign up, you'll get emailed an article about fulvic acid and how it can protect you from viruses, from spike proteins that are transmitting from people who have been vaccinated. And, whether you have or haven't been vaccinated, I don't really care. This fulvic acid is something I'm giving my whole family. There's studies, hundreds of studies over the last, 30, 40 years. And so the document I'll send you has that information. It has several sources. There's way more that you can Google. But how it actually protects your cells so that viruses can't stick to them, so that the spike proteins can't stick to them and cause damage that we don't have any, we have no studies on what these spike proteins are going to do to us long term. So fulvic acid basically delivers, it has like over 70 minerals, and they go straight into your cells. They stay in your body. These nutrients and minerals are not in our soil and our foods anymore like they used to be. So this gets those nutrients into your body and helps protect those cells. It has a ton of other benefits too, like it's an anti-inflammatory, it helps detox you, it helps, balance your hormones, gives you energy, all that good stuff. But for me, the number one reason was to protect my family, their bodies, from viruses and spike proteins. And so that's why I chose to get it. So when you sign up for my newsletter, you'll get sent that whole document that I've put together with information on the spike proteins, with information on fulvic acid, and with sources and stuff. And I would love to have you on that newsletter and following along on this journey. So I hope that this episode has blessed you in some way, shape, or form, and that you make some small changes today to live a more abundant, toxic-free life, because I truly believe that's part of this whole living on purpose thing, right? We need to be purposeful and intentional with our health, with our bodies, with our time, with our resources, with our homes. And, we need to take responsibility and be disciplined. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it takes some extra work. But I do believe that when we take care of our bodies and allow God to use our bodies and heal them the way they are meant to be, that we can flourish. And so I pray that this inspires you to make some changes if you need to make changes. And if you've already made all these changes, amazing. We're just inundated with so much information these days, and the propaganda and the mainstream media and celebrities, will have you believing one thing when it's in fact not even the truth. So, dig for the truth, find something that you don't know and do some research. And I'll link to the things I have below in the show notes, and to those blog posts that I have with the stuff that we use. Sign up for my newsletter. If you go to CorieClark.com/abundant, you can sign up for my abundant and free newsletter. That's where you'll get the document on the fulvic acid. The brand I use is called Black Oxygen Organics. It is extremely high quality. It's organic. It has no toxins, nothing in it. It's just fulvic acid, and it's in a powder form that you just dissolve in your water. Very easy to take and doesn't taste like anything. And, so I love it. So go ahead and let me know on Instagram if you found this episode, if it's helped you in some way, if you had an aha moment. I would love to know what that is. Send me a DM on Instagram. If you have not yet, then go ahead and subscribe to the show and rate and leave a review so that other people can find the show as well. And if you really love the show, then share it on Instagram and tag me. I would love to see who's listening, and that's where I connect with my audience, is on Instagram. I love chatting in my DMs with you guys. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you back here real soon on the Purpose Babe Show.